Dear students, welcome again in the MSBTE's e-content study at your doorstep for program Civil Engineering and the course Environmental Studies. The course code is 22447. Our today's unit is Unit 4, that is Environmental Pollution. We have to satisfy course outcome D, that is applied techniques to reduce environmental pollution, and for this we have to study unit outcome 4F, state the impacts of sewage, and 4G, state various units and their functions of sewage treatment plant. And our subtopic is 4.4 wastewater. So let us start today's lecture. The learning objective of this lecture is the student will able to understand sewage treatment process, and the content for this learning objective is 4.4 wastewater generation, impacts of wastewater, wastewater treatment process, and Central Pollution Control Board norms for sewage discharge. Now let us have a look at the concept map of today's lecture. It includes wastewater generation, impacts of wastewater, the treatment process of wastewater, and Central Pollution Control Board norms. So, generation of wastewater. The liquid waste which is generated from domestic and industrial facilities is called as wastewater. The water bodies can be polluted by a wide variety of substances, including pathogenic microorganisms, organic waste, toxic chemicals, sediments, oil and grease, solid waste, etc. So by observing this figure, you can easily understand the generation of wastewater. Such polluted water is called as wastewater or sewage. There are four types of sewage. First is domestic sewage, second is industrial sewage, third is sanitary sewage, and fourth is storm sewage. So let us study one by one the types of sewage. Domestic sewage carries used water from houses and apartments. It is the primary source of pathogens. A lot of diseases result from being in contact with sewage, such as diarrhea, cholera, typhoid, dysentery, and skin infections. The domestic sewage contains excess of nitrates and phosphate, which promote the growth of algae. From this picture, you can imagine the domestic sewage. Domestic sewage means the liquid waste which is generated from domestic facilities, that is houses and apartments. Now second type of sewage is industrial sewage. So it is a used water from various processes in the industry. So industries has various processes. So whatever the water is generated through these processes in industry, that liquid waste is called as industrial waste. The industrial waste includes dirt and gravel, masonry and concrete, scrap metal, oil, solvents, chemicals, scrap lumber, even vegetable matters from restaurant, etc. Now from this picture you can see the image of industrial waste. The biomedical waste and e-waste, when enters in the wastewater, its effects become more dangerous. Third type of sewage is called as sanitary sewage. Sanitary sewage includes liquid waste generated from domestic and industrial processes. When we combine the domestic wastewater and industrial wastewater, it becomes sanitary sewage. This sewage is extremely foul and requires to be disposed of very carefully, because it is very dangerous for the environment and public health. Therefore, we have to dispose of very carefully. Fourth type of sewage is storm sewage. The surface runoff develops during and immediately after rainfall over the connected area, which is collected in the form of sewage, is called as storm sewage. In short, the runoff immediately after rainfall, which is flowing in the sewer, is called as storm sewage. Now we will study various impacts of wastewater. So there are two types of impacts. First is impacts on environment and second is impacts on public health. So first we have to study impacts of wastewater on environment. So it creates nuisance in the environment. Nuisance means bad smell. It pollutes water resources. Wastewater pollute surface resources as well as underground water resources. So wastewater is responsible for air pollution due to anaerobic digestion of the organic matter which are present in wastewater. Methane gas is generated, carbon dioxide is generated, and it will liquefy into the atmosphere, and therefore it is responsible for air pollution. Land and soil pollution. When wastewater is stagnant on the land, land becomes polluted. The most immediate effect of wastewater on the environment is destruction of natural habitats of aquatic wildlife like fishes, crabs, birds, tortoise, etc. due to exposure to harmful chemicals. So now we can see from this picture that there is a land pollution, the water pollution here. This represents water pollution and the impacts on the environment. Now, impacts of wastewater on public health. The wastewater has various impurities and pathogenic bacteria. The pathogens in wastewater spread waterborne diseases. Waterborne diseases like typhoid, cholera, paratyphoid, fever, dysentery, jaundice, and amoebiasis. So these are various waterborne diseases from the wastewater. So when wastewater is contaminated with drinking water, then such types of diseases are causes. So see here from this picture, you can easily understand the various waterborne diseases by drinking the polluted water. The chemicals in the water also have negative effects on our health. Pesticides can damage the nervous system and also causes cancer. Therefore, sewage must be treated before release into the water bodies. Now we have to study about the treatment of sewage. As we know that the sewage is very harmful for the environment as well as for the public health, and therefore it is very important to treat the sewage. So sewage treatment is the process of removing pollutants from both domestic as well as industrial wastewater. The objective of sewage treatment is to produce a safe disposable effluent without polluting the surrounding environment. Means we have to treat the sewage in such a way that the dangerous pollutants or harmful pollutants shall be removed up to a permissible limit, and then it will be discharged into the surrounding environment. Now there are three steps in sewage treatment. First is primary treatment, second is secondary treatment, and third is tertiary treatment. So let us study one by one. So this is a flow diagram or flow chart of sewage treatment process or sewage treatment plant. So this is a raw wastewater. Raw wastewater is passes into the screen, then it will be passes into the grid chamber, and then it will be passes to the primary clarification or primary settling tank PST. So these three treatments comes under the primary treatments. Now from primary settling tank to aeration and clarification means secondary settling tank. So these two units comes under the secondary treatment, and then the disinfection, nutrient removals. So these process comes into the tertiary treatment, and then this treated effluent as per the required standard is now ready for the disposal in the environment, in the water bodies or for the agriculture purposes. So this is a schematic flow diagram of sewage treatment process. Now let us study one by one. Primary treatment removes material that can be easily collected from raw sewage. So see here, three units are there: screening, grid chamber and sedimentation tank. So these three units comes under the primary treatment. So first, suspended debris removal by bar screening. So with the help of screening, the large size particles which are present or floating matters which are present in sewage, that can be removed. The effluent sewage passes through a bar screen to remove all large objects like cans, sticks, plastic pockets, etc. carried in the sewage stream. The second process is grit chamber. Grit means sand, silt, small stones, broken glass, eggshells. These are called as grits. These particles are removed in the grit chamber. Here, the grit chamber. The velocity of the incoming sewage is adjusted to allow the settlement of grit. in the grit chamber. Third unit is the primary settling tank. It is also called as primary clarifier or primary sedimentation tank. The effluent is kept undisrupted primary sedimentation tank. The settled and floating matters are removed and the remaining liquid may be discharged to the secondary treatment. So whatever the heavier particles are there, they are settled in grit chamber as well as in sedimentation tank or primary septic tank, and then the effluent is moved to the secondary treatment. Now we have to study about secondary treatment. Secondary treatment removes dissolved and suspended biological matters which are present in sewage. So this secondary treatment includes aeration and secondary settling tank. So secondary treatment is typically performed by a membrane bioreactor with waterborne microorganisms in a managed habitat. The biological film of bacteria, protozoa and fungi form on the membrane, eat or reduce the harmful organic content from the wastewater. So in aeration process, the aerobic bacteria are generated in the sewage, and then the aerobic bacteria are responsible for the stabilization or oxidation of the organic matters which are present in sewage. And in secondary settling tank, these oxides are settled down. So here the precipitations are settled at the bottom in the form of sludge. It includes aeration and secondary clarifier. Then third type of treatment is tertiary treatment. The purpose of tertiary treatment is to raise the effluent quality before it is discharged into the water bodies. So this is the flow chart of the tertiary treatment. So here the filter media is provided as well as the disinfection of the effluent is provided to kill the pathogenic bacteria, and then this effluent is discharged into the natural water bodies. So first unit in tertiary treatment is filtration. Sand filtration removes much of the residual suspended matter. Filtration over activated carbon, also called as carbon adsorption, which removes residual toxins. It's either simple sand filter or the activated carbon filter are used for the filtration of the sewage or effluent. Sludge, whatever sludge is generated in the secondary settling tank, that will be removed and it will be again treated in the sludge digester. There is one unit which is called as sludge digester. So at sludge digester, the sludge is treated anaerobically and it will be satisfied. The liquid sludge is separated and subjected to further treatment to make it suitable for final disposal. Typically, the sludge are thickened down to reduce the volume for the disposal. And the third tertiary treatment is chlorination. Chlorination means disinfection. The chlorination is a water treatment that destroys disease causing bacteria, means pathogenic bacteria, parasite and other organisms. Chlorination also oxidizes iron and manganese and hydrogen sulfide so that they can be removed. So now the after chlorination, the effluent can be discharged into the natural water bodies. So chlorination is a water treatment that destroys disease causing bacteria, parasite and other organisms. Chlorination also oxidizes iron, manganese and hydrogen sulfide. So removal of plant nutrients. The nutrients are available in the sewage and excess nutrients are removed from the sewage, because when excess nutrients are available, then the algal development should be there. So therefore the excess nutrients can be removed, and that process is called as denitrification. Denitrification. Now the Central Pollution Control Board have issued some standards for the disposal of treated waste, and some standards are presented before you on your screen. Some parameters are there, the pH, the parameters are there, and the discharge of effluent for inland surface water, in public sewer and for land irrigation. What should be the permissible limit of the parameters that are given in this table? So pH should have 5.5 to 9 range for all these parameters, that is inland surface water, public sewer and discharge for land irrigation. BOD in mg per liter or ppm. For inland surface water, it should not be more than 30. For public sewer, it should not be more than 350. And for land irrigation, it should not be more than 100. Then COD, that is chemical oxygen demand. So for inland water surface, it should not be more than 250. Similarly, suspended solids for inland water surface, it should not be more than 100. For public sewer, it should not be more than 600, and for land irrigation, it should not be more than 200 mg per liter. Ammonical nitrogen for inland surface water discharge, it should not be more than 50 mg per liter. For discharging into public sewer, it should not be more than 50. Total nitrogen for inland surface water, it should not be more than 100 mg per liter. Oil and grease should not be more than 10 for inland surface water discharge, should not be more than 20 for public sewer, and should not be more than 10 for land irrigation. The bioassay test that can be done by the parameters for discharging of the effluent in these three stages. First is for inland surface water, the 90% survival of fish after 96 hours in 100% effluent. For public sewer, 90% survival of fish after 96 hours in 100% effluent. And for land irrigation also, 90% survival of the fish after 96 hours in 100% effluents. The more standards are available on Google. You can search in Google and you can download the document of Central Pollution Control Board for these standards. Now we have conclusion for this topic. The aquatic biodiversity is the rich and wonderful variety of plants and animals, and also help essential to maintain the environmental balance. They have the equal right of living. Therefore, wastewater must be treated before releasing into the water bodies. So, students, what we have studied today? We have studied wastewater generation, we have studied impacts of wastewater, we have studied sewage treatment process, and we have also studied Central Pollution Control Board norms of sewage discharge. So these are the references which are used for the outcome of today's lecture. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Keep learning. Let's have a quiz. So again, we will meet in the next lecture. Till then, thank you very much.